Do you suffer with nagging injuries, or do you just simply have, say, back pain or just some kind of nagging ache or pain that comes and goes? Something that may have been afflicting you for a couple days, couple weeks, maybe even a couple years. It just comes and goes, gets better, gets worse. You let it rest, tends to go away. You go on with your own business. If that's you, if you've ever been in that situation and you hadn't actually gone to get that particular situation or injury healed, there's a very good chance that you're dealing with something that's going to be chronic until you actually go and get it checked. All right. Now, the reason that is because the body is going to heal according to the information that it's given. All right. Your brain, it's very, very, very important. And I'm sure everybody knows that. But the way it works is it's designed to keep you alive. So if that means turning up your temperature to kill off a virus, or putting you in chronic stress because the signal it's getting from your body is a chronic threat, if it's receiving threat responses from every part of your body and every part of your environment, it's going to keep you in chronic stress to get you out of that danger. And until you're out of that danger, or until your brain thinks you're out of that danger, it's going to keep you in that stress state to keep you alive. Now, long term, that can be bad. And you may have bouts where you're a little bit more anxious or a little bit more stressed than others, but long term, we know that leads into adrenal fatigue, leads into all sorts of different chronic diseases, lifestyle diseases, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, all these different things that can be avoided simply because your body's not processing in the way it's designed to have optimum health. Okay, so you can function here, you can have optimal health up here and actually function on the level that you were designed to. So this kind of comes back, or this does go back to the chronic injuries that you may have. If you tweaked your back and you just rested, it's okay, but it keeps coming back every now and then, maybe even a certain time of year, every single year if it comes back. You've never properly gotten that healed, so you have some kind of weak spot. Now, when you do this, the brain's going to turn off different portions of your body just so you can compensate and get along and still manage to function until there comes a point where you can't. All right. If you've ever been there, if you've ever been down in your back and you just cannot get anything to work, you've given it a few weeks, it's because it normally gets better and it's just not getting better. This is the final straw, basically. Your brain, your body's telling you, hey, we can't go anymore. Get this fixed. Get it fixed now. All right. And the best way to do that is to have your spine checked, to make sure it's moving properly, make sure everything's aligned in the proper alignment. Everything should be straight from the front. You should have 3 curves from the side, so your neck and low back should be curving this way. Your upper back's in the opposite direction. So if your spine is not in this optimal position, it leads you to further injury, or at least a higher chance of injury. But more than that, it's constantly sending bad signals to your brain so that you don't function the way you're designed to. And this is what leads to that chronic injury, that poor health over time. Things just snowball and get worse and worse and worse. And all of a sudden, this is why you wake up when you're 30 or 40 and you feel like you're 80, right? That's not the way we're designed to be. We're designed to function, we're designed to heal, and we're designed to continually move. But when we stop, or we're not able to heal at 100%, things break down, okay? So if you're in that position, chances are, 1, you've never been to a chiropractor, or 2, you went to a chiropractor for a little bit and you stopped as soon as you started feeling better. But you still have these chronic nagging issues that you have to go into, or you go to a chiropractor from time to time to get that stuff lined out or put back in place, right? Well, yes, we want to put things back in place, but that tends to be a process depending on the amount of damage that you have. So let's say in the case of neck injuries, can be anything. You have macro injuries, okay, that's going to be your sports injuries, your motor vehicle accidents, trips, falls, things like that. Then you also have micro injuries, which are going to be little repetitive things, looking down, reading, texting, playing video games, constantly turning, doing a similar thing if you're working on an assembly line or something like that, or you just have habits that you do. Those little things, when they go unchecked, create patterns that disrupt the normal communication between the brain and the body. And again, this can lead to problems at some point. It's not always immediate. And whenever it's there, just because the pain's gone doesn't mean you're healed. So what we got to do is get the spine checked. Again, make sure it's moving properly, make sure the structure's proper. And then we got to get it to the point where, yes, we want you out of pain, We got to get to the place where it's going to be functioning as best as it possibly can in the state that you have it in at that point in time. And what I mean by that is you can come in and you can have a massive curve in your chest like this that's 15, 20 degrees where it should be absolutely straight. We might not be able to get it straight, but we can get it close. And if we can get it as optimal as possible within the capability that your spine has at that point in time, you're always going to be better in that position, getting it straightened out as much as possible than if you leave it here, because it's going to get worse. Maybe by increments, or maybe massively, exponential leaps into getting worse. Either way, it's still going to get worse if you're not actively working on it. So in our office, we actually have a chart that talks about health on one end and death on the other side, and it's a continuum. So it ranks from 10 all the way perfectly healthy, 0 at death. Okay, once you hit 0, everything's done. You've expired, right? So a lot of times people are functioning right in the middle between like a 5 and a 7. You feel good, you don't have any symptoms, or if you do, they're very, very minor, but you're not doing anything proactively to actually get to this optimal level over here to 8, 9, 10, okay? Now, every decision that you make, every bit of food that you put in your mouth is going to dictate which way you go. Every way you sit, if you're slouching, if you're sitting up properly, if you exercise, if you don't. All these decisions that we do tick us either to the left or tick us to the right, where we're going to go towards disease and death, or we're going to optimum health and functioning, okay? Now, it's whenever you get past this level, this neutral zone, if you will, when you actually start having symptoms. So if you already have symptoms, you're below that neutral zone. That neutral zone, no symptoms, you just have some issues in your spine that you may or may not be aware of, okay? So that's what we want to do. To get any issue healed, you got to give the body the ability to actually heal in the first place. So removing that interference from the nervous system. If there's rotational issues, get the rotation in where the vertebrae move properly. If it's a structural issue where you actually have lost the curves in your spine where they should be, getting those restored as much as you can. Or if you have any compression in your disc, getting that disc to open up as much as possible. That is the key to healing. And this goes for soft tissue as well. And this goes into the whole bit of my rant here, is if you have soft tissue injuries, let's say shoulders are very, very common chronic injury for people, especially if you've done throwing sports or racket sports, okay? If you've got that going on, it might hurt, might feel better a little bit, put some Aspercreme on it, some Icy Hot, something like that, you're able to go through, but eventually it starts to break down. And if it rests and it heals, or even if you do some physical therapy, a lot of times you do the physical therapy enough to where it doesn't hurt anymore, and then you stop if you quit working on it. And that joint, if that joint was never set properly, you can have an alignment where it's going forward here, but it doesn't hurt, and you did the rehab to strengthen the muscles, but they're constantly being strained because your shoulder's not back here. So whatever the case may be, if you have that chronic injury that it keeps getting worse and worse and worse, you have the potential for a tear. Or if you had a partial tear in your rotator cuff, that's a very common thing too. That's just a sign that your body hadn't fully healed at 100%, and that whenever it did heal, it didn't heal properly. Okay, so now we're getting into the soft tissue bits of how do you go back and address the issue with the soft tissue. The spine's pretty easy, or simple rather. You got to get the spine moving, okay? If a joint's not moving, you got to get it moving to restore the function to it. There's a whole another bit of neurological bits that go on in processes when you get joints moving around. We'll cover that at a different time. But whenever it comes to soft tissue, when it doesn't move properly, what happens is it develops adhesions to it, scar tissue, right? So you lose range of motion, you lose strength, you lose all sorts of different proprioceptive bits in that muscle as well. And that's going to set you up for further injury. So in order to actually get that tissue to heal properly, you've got to introduce a stimulus that makes your body think it's going through trauma again, but you're getting it in the right place, in the right position. So if it is out of alignment, get it aligned, and then get that tissue stimulated to the place where, again, it thinks it's being injured, but that's basically to get the healing process started again in that tissue, okay? So you got to elicit a little bit of trauma to get the acute response, to get the inflammation, to get blood going into those areas. but then you got to actually get it set back, and you got to get the healing factors coming in. And one thing that we use in the office, actually, it's a shockwave device, and that actually stimulates stem cell production. So if you do have tears, or if you have those adhesions, this helps to break through the adhesions, but the stem cells help to repair the tissue like it's new. So if you're not familiar with what stem cells are those blank cells, basically, that we all start out with, and we all have a certain amount of them. And even as adults, we still have some in our body that are just waiting for direction to say, hey, go become eye tissue, go become tendon, muscle, whatever the case is. So whenever you have the proper stimulus, it's going to heal and actually activate those stem cells in that area so it can heal properly again. Okay, so with all that said, if you do have a chronic issue going on, if you've never gotten it checked out, we're extending an offer to come into the office this month, the month of March, get it checked out, and actually see if it's something we can help you with. Okay, we're going to do the shockwave. We'll do a trial session with you to see if it's actually even going to be beneficial to you. So I never want anybody to waste their time. So we're going to do a trial on that. And if it's beneficial, then we're going to come up with a treatment plan to actually get you to where you want to be. All right. We don't want to waste your time, but we also want to make sure you're getting to where you want to be. We're not, so if you're wanting to take advantage of this, give me a call. I'll post the number down below. Also, you can message down below and we'll get things set up as well. But have a great night, guys. I will post more videos on this as we go. If you have any questions, feel free to ask questions down below. Send me a personal message if you want, or DM, whatever you want to call them, and help you out any way I can. All right, have a great one. Bye.